Hello everybody, today we're going to be talking about exams. I went through quite a time with exams and I imagine it's a very common thing to feel anxious about. I don't really remember much about my friends at school. I know that they study a lot more than me. I didn't really study that much because my mental health was quite bad when I was at school. With anxiety, agoraphobia started then, so I didn't really feel like I had time to study. I was too busy trying to stay stable, to be honest, which is something 18-year-olds, 17-year-olds, 15-year-olds should not have to go through. But when it comes to exams, I wasn't that terribly worried about the results I would get. In Scotland, I know it's very different in different parts of the world when it comes to exams, but we have our biggest exams when we're 15, 16, 17, 18, that kind of age. So we have standard grades, or when I was at school, we had standard grades, which you had in fourth year. Then in fifth and sixth year, you had hires, and they would determine whether you go into university or not. So they're very important, but I remember kind of not being that worried about them. However, the actual exams I found very difficult. I remember my first exam was English. Being honest, little side note, I wasn't the biggest lover of school anyway. I kind of felt like, this isn't how this system should be run. I felt quite passionately about that. And so I think I was quite disengaged anyway. But I remember my English exam, can't remember if it was like prelims, which is kind of like the pre-exam, the practice exam, where I was 15. You all went into a big, massive hall with like invigilators, which were the people that would be hired by the school or the exam board to make sure that nobody was on their phone, nobody was cheating, nobody was talking. So there was probably, my school was huge. So there was maybe 50 to 100 pupils in this hall, all taking the English exam. And it was a huge, big, massive hall. And I remember that the exam was split into two. So the first part of the exam, I remember sitting there and being like, God, this is really, really horrible. Trying to get through it the best I could. Then we had lunch. So me and my friends went out to lunch. I remember just not being able to eat anything at all. And having to run to the toilet a couple of times, which was really horrible, obviously. And then I remember getting back to school and being like, I don't think I can go through that again. I don't think I can. The thing that was really scaring me was sitting in that big hall with all of those people, with people walking up and down, making sure that you weren't doing anything you weren't supposed to, knowing, like, the teachers made it very clear, if you leave the room even to go to the toilet, that is considered, cheating. You could go to the toilet and then, look at your leg that you'd written answers on or whatever. So I think the no escape thing really freaked me out. I remember I was sitting like near the front, I think. I was sitting at my individual desk. And I remember I had a pen in my hand. It actually felt like my hands were shrinking. I remember having that feeling of like panic, and then looking at my hands and being like, oh my God, my fingers get smaller. And that was one of the only times I ever experienced something like that. But I remember being like, what on earth is happening? Like, my fingers are shrinking. And then the next exam, like this was exam season, the next exam I had, I remember, was RE, which is religious studies. And I really liked that class. I thought it was really interesting. I had nice teachers. So I wanted to do well for the teachers, I think. And I just really enjoyed the subject. And we went into a room. There was less people in this room. It was a smaller room. I remember walking up to the classroom door and crying, like hysterical crying. I'm not really a massive crier. I don't really cry very easily at things. But I panicked. I started crying. So they took me into a side room, and I remember the teacher saying to me, you're making this very difficult for other people. Everybody is nervous. Everybody is anxious. You're making this very difficult for us. And so after like 10 minutes after the exam started, I remember walking into the room and just sitting there and being like, oh my God, I can't do this. And then for the next year, I'd spoken to various teachers. I don't really know how this happened, but somebody suggested to me that there is, like, for pupils that are differently abled, or for pupils that have whatever problem that they need help with, like some kids need extra time, some kids need different coloured sheets of paper. I think sometimes now you can get like somebody to write for you, transcribe for you if you're somebody with dyslexia or something like that. And I don't think they'd ever thought about helping a kid with panic by giving them a separate room, but they gave me a separate room with an invigilator in it, it was just obviously me and this one other adult who was making sure I didn't cheat and stuff like that. I was sitting in that room and feeling so much more chilled out, so much more able to focus on my exams. And the first 2 years of exams, I never got that, and I did very badly. The last year of exams, I did get that, and I did so much better. Having said that, I personally believe I am intelligent. I believe I was intelligent at 18, 17. I believe I could have got straight A's if I had been given the right methods and the right teaching. Kids are so different. Human beings are so different. We can't expect them all to learn in the exact same way with the exact same system in place for everybody. It doesn't make any sense. But obviously that's not this story. This is my story. I get quite angry sometimes when I think about this situation because I'm a 26-year-old adult now who still struggles with panic, and I would be able to now fight my own corner and say, no, I'm not being ridiculous. I have an anxiety disorder. I need things put in place for me. I feel like I'm able to put boundaries in place, able to tell people how I feel, and stand up for myself now. But back then, I didn't really understand fully what I was going through. I kind of felt like I was making everything difficult. I was being unreasonable. I was making it about me, and I was being, I felt really guilty, and that's not how I should have been made to feel. So if you're somebody that has exams coming up, or you have any kind of situation that's similar to that, and you feel able to, you should try and speak up for yourself and try and see if there's anything that people can do to help. And if you don't feel able to do that, maybe you have a parent or a friend or somebody who would be able to help you get something that could help in that situation. Extra time or a separate room. Most of the time, these things are available, but you do need to ask for them. I'm glad that eventually it was put in place for me. I do feel grateful for that, and I was able to get the grades that I needed. However, I've not used them once, just to let you know. No job I've ever gone for or no job I've ever gotten has ever asked for my high school grades once. I didn't go to university because I wasn't well enough with anxiety, and it was good that I could have gone if I wanted to, but I also know a lot of people, in fact, most of the people I know that went to university have not used their degrees either. So that's something to bear in mind if you're struggling right now at school or college. You might not even need those grades, just to let you know. Thank you for watching today's video. Let me know if you have any exam or school stories about anxiety. I would really love to share each other's stories. And I will see you in the next video. Bye.